स्वदेहो भूताभिः घृणिभिरणिमाद्याभिरभितः निषेव्ये नित्ये त्वाम् अहमिति सदा भावयति यः किमाश्चर्यं तस्य त्रिनयन समृद्धिं तृणयतो महासंवर्ताग्निः विरचयति नीराजन विधिम्. So this one, see, now somewhere here you will notice these shlokas sequence are slightly different in some versions. Okay. In one version, I saw this particular verse is actually verse number 98. So, and in some it is 29 and some it's 30. So it's a bit of, and it's fair, right? Because these verses were all eaten up by Nandi and then it got recompiled by Adi Shankara. So the story was that, right? So it anyways got, Adi Shankara got it from Shiva Shakti, Shiva Parvati in a certain sequence, and then it got all messed up. So when it came down to us also, it's probably slightly messed up that way. Continues to be messed up. Anyways, so the sequence, you will see it in different places, but that doesn't mean so much. It's more about the meaning of that verse itself. Okay. Now, what is Adi Shankara saying here in this particular verse is Swadeho Swadeha Udbhutabhihi Dhrinibhi Animadyabhihi Abhitaha. From your body, there are these rays that are rising. Rays that are rising from your body, and you are the rays that are arising from you. You are surrounded by the Anima Siddhe, Mahima Siddhe, Lagima Siddhe, Ishitva Siddhe, Vashitva Siddhe, Prakama Siddhe, Bhukti Siddhe, Ichcha Siddhe. There are Ashtama Siddhis. There are 8 different types of Siddhis that are there. So these Siddhis are emanating as rays from you. Okay. And Nishebye Nitye Tvam Aham Iti Sada Bhavayati Yaha. The one who thinks of this this particular form of yours, where its rays are emanating from your body, all the siddhis and everything, all the aishwarya is emanating from your body. The one who assumes himself to be that, aham iti bhavayati yaha nishevye nitye, one who thinks of himself that way and also worships you in that form, eternally, forever, continues to worship you, sada bhavayati yaha. Kim ascharyam tasya, what is the great wonder if he gets glories much above than Shiva himself? Which means this particular individual, this sadhaka, holds Devi or Shakti much higher than Shiva, much higher than the ultimate. If Shivoham is the goal, when a sadhaka attains to this particular state, the Shivoham, he doesn't find joy in that. He just wants to be in the presence and the experience of Devi. And when a sadhaka or when somebody attains to that state, he says, Mahasamvartagnihi virachayati nirajana vidhim, which means the fire arti yargapana. Who do we do arti for? Arti we usually do, always do for somebody who's of a much higher stature. Of a much higher stature, you do arati, you do nirajanam, you do arati, you do the mangalam. All that you do is somebody that who is much higher stature than yourself. You do it either to a guru or to a deity or to a rishi or to your ishta devata, whatever, you do an arati, right? And that arati is essentially what, okay, this is interesting. Why do we do arati? And what is the process of uh, using your palms to take that arati and applying it to your face and eyes and body? Why do you think we do that? Any ideas? What does arati offer? One thing is, we know in earlier days, the Garbhagraha used to be dark. The Garbhagraha will be dark. To see the Vigraha, you need some light. And there are times when tube lights didn't exist, bulbs didn't exist. The only form of light was a fire. So you would use that fire to display or show the particular form of the deity, right? So Mama is saying to get the radiance or grace of deity, correct. This is one reason why the arati is also done. See, what happens is, there is this aura or akasha that we carry. All of us carry a certain aura. You heard of this term aura, right? Now, this aura is of a certain quality. Depending on how you are, this aura is of a certain quality. If you're always an aggressive person, this aura will display a certain quality. If you're a calm person, this aura will display a certain quality. In fact, there is a photography called as Krillin photography, where they are able to take a photography of the aura of the individual, and using that you can study the aura and then offer, if you can understand the state of mind of that person, Krillin, and then using that you can offer remedies if the person is suffering from something or whatever, and do all that, right? So it's used as a technique to also diagnose. So then the now when this happens, it essentially is a reflection of what your current state of mind is. Yes, your current state of mind is reflected in your aura, and over time, the way you build yourself, the aura starts building in that way. And a lot of times, which is why sometimes you come in contact with somebody and you wouldn't have known that person at all, but you wouldn't like the person, or some people you would just like the person, or you will have some, maybe in the presence you will feel a little fear, in somebody's presence you will just feel comfortable and whatever. All of this happens is because their aura is of a certain quality. And if you go to masters who've had the experience of being in the presence of gurus and masters and all, you would have experienced their aura is of a certain quality of abhaya. You won't feel afraid in their presence. In fact, those who have gone to Amritananda Mahima, the hugging mother, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to go to this Mata Amritananda Mahima. She conducts these camps where she does hugging. She hugs thousands of people. You just queue up and you go and hug. And I have had the experience of going and hugging that hugging experience. It's really beautiful. It is really correct. So that experience is really beautiful, and it's quite she's been to Singapore. Been to Singapore. So it is quite an impactful experience if you're able to receive that. Now what happens there is that there is a certain aura that she carries, and that
some
aura
comforting
sorry,
a comfortable feeling.
Certain compassion. There is a certain sense of compassion. There is a motherly love that she exudes. And that exuding thing, exudes. See, there's another word, exudes. When you say somebody exudes joy, somebody exudes positivity, exuding means there is a certain ray that comes out of them, right? And that fills their aura. And this aura is of the quality of the person that you are, right? Now, what happens to a deity in the temple? There is a certain aura to be built. Amritapuri, very nice. Yeah, on her birthday, Shweta was at Amritapuri. Very beautiful. So this experience, only somebody who's gone through this experience will be able to understand. There is a certain quality to the person's aura, right? You wouldn't have known that person at all, but when you go there and have that experience, it feels a little different. Now, what happens to a deity in the Garbhagraha? That also builds up an aura over time. It builds up an aura of the sounds of mantra vibrations, the prayers people have put, the namas that have been chanted, the archanas that have been done for years and years and years in the same place repeatedly. Trikala puja, Panchakala puja, whatever that keeps happening, it builds a certain aura over time and time and time. Now, fire has this property of transmitting auric energy. Fire has this property. It can absorb the akashic element, akashic aura, or the akashic property of a particular substance, and it modifies, or rather it, some of it sticks on to the fire itself. The aura of fire essentially gets modified by the aura that it comes in contact with. So now when you do an arati close enough to the aura of the deity, then the fire captures that content, that property. And then when the Vadyar comes and brings it to us, you run your hand over the fire and you take that on you. You are essentially taking the grace or the blessings or the auric content of the deity that is there. You're taking that onto you. This is the whole process of this arati. Very interesting, right? Now, this is something that is the whole process, where one is, of course, you're able to see the deity.
இன்னொன்னு அந்த ஃபயர் அந்த ஆரா அந்த இடத்துல இருந்து வரும்போது நெகட்டிவ் வைப்ரேஷன்ஸ் நெகட்டிவிட்டி நம்ம கிட்ட இருக்கிறதும் போகும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி அந்த ஆரத்தி பண்றதுக்கு அது ஒன்று சொல்ல திருஷ்டி கழிக்கிறதுக்கும் பண்ணுவாங்க.
Yeah. So drishti karikirtha is you run the fire on your aura so that you cleanse it. But arati is essentially you're trying to absorb the energies that is built around the deity, the form, the idol, and you try to absorb it within your system. Now this, what he says here, Mahasamvartagnihi virachayati nirajana vidhim. So somebody who is now able to visualize and meditate upon Devi as Swadeho Bhutabhi Granimir Animadya Bhirabitah. So she is surrounded by Animadi Ashtama Siddhis, and there is this beautiful rays of grace that is flowing out of her. The one who is Bhavayati Yaha, Aham iti bhavayati yaha, who's able to think of Sada bhavayati, think of Devi in this form all the time, he becomes worthy of worship. He becomes worthy of worship. He carries the aura of Devi. Just by visualizing and meditating upon Devi in Tripura Sundari in that form, he absorbs the energy of that particular form, because Yad bhavam tad bhavati. The way he perceives and creates his bhavam, then his aura transforms in that form, and he becomes worthy of worship. Mahasamvartagnihi, the great fire at the time of delusion, the final delusion, that great fire is the fire that is used as arati for this person. And Shiva himself becomes small there. What it means to say is that the final dissolution is not important. Whether it happens or doesn't happen doesn't matter. You have reached it. Once you have absorbed the essence of what Mother is, what Devi is, and once that is descended upon you, you no longer aspire to be Shiva. In the same way as, even if you take Narayana, for example, If you are with the mother, you're automatically with the father, because they're one and the same. They're just two different aspects of the same entity, the same consciousness. So, because why is this said? Because a lot of times it's very difficult to attain to Shiva. It's difficult to attain to Shiva because it's abstract. The Shiva Tattva is very abstract. You just say, be a Sakshi, just observe, just be silent, you are the consciousness, and all of that becomes very abstract suddenly. What do you hold on to? Because the mind starts wanting to hold on to something. But when you hold on to this image of Devi, this visualization of Devi, this particular form of the mother, that she's emanating this beautiful form, and then you aham iti sada bhavayati. This whole thing that I'm visualizing is this here. This is happening here within me. Aham, 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 aham iti. And when I keep visualizing that again and again and again, it's happening here. Then imagine the whole exuding of the rays are happening from here. Udbhutabhi. It's happening from here, and my whole aura becomes cleansed and becomes this exuding of Devi's energy. Oh, beautiful. Yes, Mama. In Devi temples, Pujari, because of his long association, appears to be feminine. Very true. A lot of Pujaris, having done puja for Devi for many, many years, they start getting some feminine tendencies. They become softer. They also start becoming a little like that, even in form of appearance. So this, when we meditate upon this form in this way, then we absorb those energies and we start exuding that. And then the need for attaining to Shiva, which means the need for attaining with complete dissolution, is not required. It becomes of smaller importance. How is this? This is now connected to the previous verse we saw, right? This is connected to the previous verse where he says that this particular, what did he say in the previous verse? The Shiva, when he comes, you have no say. He comes unannounced. When he comes, he doesn't announce. He comes unannounced. So you don't know when that will happen. So in the same way, in the same spirit here, you don't worry about attaining to Shiva. You just focus on Shakti, because Shakti is what is visible to us. Shakti is what is operating within us. Shakti is what is pervading this whole universe. So you focus on this Shakti, Shiva will automatically happen. Your focus, this is what the last two, or the 29th and the 30th verses say, that don't worry about attaining to Shiva, because it is quite an arduous task. It requires a lot of yogic power and that yogic resolve. But as a normal, even as a grahastha, as a sadhaka, as a bhakta, you be in this constant visualization and thinking process with Devi, then Shiva is, you don't worry about attaining to Shiva. It will happen in due course of time. And whatever needs to happen will happen. So the beauty is about attaining to Bhavanitvam, Bhavanitvam dase, Mai vitara drishtim sakarunam. That Bhavanitvam, the Bhavanitvam is what we look for and attain to and seek her grace. Okay. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambikayeti Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.